Is the way that Sean Payton is approaching this game the right way?
What is the way in which he's approaching it?
He is approaching it by saying we're doing everything to win this game. In fact, he said we're approaching Week 18 as if it is Week 2 in terms of if you're injured enough to play in Week 2, you're playing in Week 18. He is playing Jarrett Stidham by what he said, not because of the injury guarantees, but because he thinks it gives the Broncos the best chance to win. He's been asked this question since the Broncos were officially eliminated 4 days ago. He's probably been asked this question 6 times. Like, are you sure you want to win so much as to, like, play everyone? Are you going to play backups more? Are you going to play young guys more? And every single time he has said it is super important to win this game. He said, the whole time we're learning how to prevent beating ourselves. I think it's extremely important because it's our last opportunity to win this game, and getting to that 9th win means something. Is that the right approach, Todd?
I think so. I think he wants to be a winner, and ultimately at 9-8, you've won more than you lost. You want to create momentum going into next year, so I think that's important. And as long as he has the opportunity to help guys and allow them to get better, I think we have to take it. We can't just go into the offseason like lackadaisical. Like, every game matters, every opportunity matters, and so I think it's important that they win the game.
Did you see when Zion Williamson said lackadaisical? That's the first I've heard that word since then. That's so good. Oh, yeah, football. So, I mean, yeah, if you can go win this game, that's massive. I mean, it reminds me, so, like, remember when we were talking about how nobody had, it was like 85% of people said under 2.5 Pro Bowlers this year?
Yep.
That's like, no, there's no way. And why is that? Because they never have more than 2.5 Pro Bowlers. It's been since 2018 since they had 4, and those were, Vaughn and Aqib Talib and Casey Kreider, the long snapper, and Chris Harris Jr. So those are like almost like legacy. Not that they have great seasons, but that wasn't like in this situation where guys are earning it. I think the reason there's so many unders is that for some reason people don't realize that this is the best season the Broncos have had in forever.
Yep.
If a lot of people are saying like, oh, you brought in Sean Payton, and it's the exact same thing. No, it is not. No. Remember, back to 2016, that's the last time, even if they lose this week, that they've been this good. And you have a chance to cap it off, going 9-8, winning record. Like, that's a tangible increase from where you were. Like, that's a new high. I think you could go back and find, from the beginning of the season, all sorts of different things you want to do. And obviously, make the playoffs was the big one, but make the playoffs, and the streak to the Chiefs, and the streak to the Raiders also, which is kind of on the table. Have a winning record. And you have a chance to say, hey, winning record and the Chiefs streak and the Raiders streak, missed out on the playoffs, and that stinks, but look at this trajectory we're on. There's a lot of talk of like the Lions last year and how they finished hot. But I think it's the chance to go into this offseason feeling good about yourself, saying, hey, we were this close to making it into the playoffs. I mean, this is the big one. This is like the win or lose. Are you a winning team or are you a losing team? And that's what's on the line this week.
Yeah, I think people are a little bit ungrateful for this season as a whole.
Big time.
Because we've grown accustomed to losing, but now when we're starting to turn the table, like, nobody's realizing how much better this is than 5-12 was last year. So this is like leaps and bounds better than how it felt last year. And we all got to take this into consideration. We got to understand that we do have an opportunity to go over 500, which is always important, and it's a building block. We haven't reached the mountaintop, but we're climbing.
Every year when the Broncos trade for Joe Flacco, and it's like, oh, he's a Super Bowl winning quarterback, maybe they can make the playoffs. When they get Case Keenum, who just came off of the Minnesota Miracle, is that what it was called? And took their team to the playoffs. When the Broncos drafted Drew Lock and were starting him. When they get Russell Wilson last year. Every single year and Broncos country sells themselves on the idea of, this team could make the playoffs, and that would be a really good year if they're able to make the playoffs. And then they come up way short, and then the hope builds up again next year. And I think that's what it is. Just this year is the Broncos had playoff aspirations, but they have that every single year, and they fall way short of that. And I think people just lose sight on, well, it's not the playoffs, so it's just another one of these years. And it's not. You guys are right. And we talked about it at the beginning of the season. If the Broncos don't make the playoffs, but they go 9-8, or there was even the possibility of like a 10-7 missing the playoffs, is that a successful season? And I think we all said, like, for the first year, yes.
Yeah.
I think it is, because 4 additional wins from last year.
It's a big jump.
Now, what do you convince yourself? Now, might be a little more difficult with the new quarterback and all the dead cap, but if they can make a similar jump, let's say it's 3 games next year, that's 12-5. That's winning the division this year. And with how the Chiefs are, they're not going to get to 12 wins. So it is a big time jump from 5-12 to 9-8. But Todd, how important is it? Because they're at least going to be 8-9. How important is it to be 9-8 instead of 8-9? Or is it important?
I think it is. I think you have to, like we said, go into this offseason with momentum. And it just looks so much better on paper to see it 9-8 versus 8-9. And like you talked about, we got an opportunity to finally beat the Raiders. That's important. It's a big deal as far as the momentum and the ability to, if we need a free agent, you know what I'm saying? You got the ability to say, hey, we're a winning team last year. If we add you to the mix, maybe that makes us, a Super Bowl contender, but it just leaves our team, in a good space going into next year.
Yeah, and I think, realistically, people probably expected 9-8, and that was probably even a little bit optimistic to expect, but that's just like the fan base. That's the way everything is tinted, is you always just expect a little more than you should. There might have been some people who expected the playoffs, but I think for the most part, people expected 9-8. And when's the last time that a Broncos team has met expectations? Like, it's been a while.
2015.
Probably 2015. Like, because even the year after, people, like, expectation was at least playoffs, you know? And it's just kind of been that. It would be such a treat to come off a season where you're just like, this is, hey, they did what we expected them to do.
You guys have laid out so many reasons why it makes sense to win this game, and there's one more. That's to have a winning record in the division. When was the last time the Broncos did that? My guess is it's 2015.
Probably.
Maybe even not 2015. I don't know when the last time it was. Broncos won't just be 3-3 in the division. They'll be 4-2 in the division, splitting with the Raiders and Chiefs, sweeping the Chargers. That is monumental. And then, like you said, to break the streak against the Chiefs, to break the streak against the Raiders. Saying all of that, though, you guys are wrong. The Broncos should lose this game.
Wow.
And I'll tell you why after I tell you about our friends over at Illegal Pete's. Illegal Pete's is getting bigger and better. They're opening another location in Wheat Ridge in February, so make sure to stop by our friends over at Illegal Pete's. Actually, it's open right now. They're bringing their favorite burritos, or their Colorado's favorite burritos and strong margaritas to the Foothills area and join the party. It's Gold's Marketplace on the corner of 26th and Kipling, overlooking Crown Hill Park. Illegal Pete's is your new go-to spot in that area for burritos. Man, they're just filling up the entire state, and it is great because Illegal Pete's is the best for, their happy hour is killer, their margs are great, their queso's the best in town. So check out Illegal Pete's and get in on the amazing food and drinks.
Yeah, they're really good. I had them cater my little New Year's Eve get together with my family, so it's good. Had some nachos, some queso.
Yeah,
It was fire.
Yeah, and they catered our company party,
Yep,
so
they did.
we love them.
Yeah, when my
definitely
family was
do.
in town, we went there because that's like one of the can't miss. It's Legal Pete's. It's the best
Yep.
place.
Can't beat it.
Also, DNVR bar.
Shout out to our friends over at Red Hawk Roofing. Denver's best roofers have joined the DNVR team. They use quality materials. They have decades of experience. They have a quick response time. And plus, they offer a free, no-obligation roof and property inspection, free in-depth photo reports for all inspections. If you are looking for a new roof over your home or business, be sure to check out Red Hawk Roofing at redhawkroofing.com and tell them DNVR sent you.
So it's great to finally get a winning record since 2016. It's great to beat the 7-game losing streak to the Raiders. I don't know what's more embarrassing, the 15-game losing streak that the Broncos had to the Chiefs or a 7-game losing streak to the Raiders, because the Raiders are trash.
Yep.
And they've been trash this entire streak. They've not only been trash on the field, they've been embarrassing, laughing stock off the field. And the Broncos haven't beat the Raiders since they were the Oakland Raiders.
Wow.
They've never beat the Las Vegas Raiders. How crazy is that?
That's very crazy. Because like you said, I mean, losing to the Chiefs sucks, but at least they were winning Super Bowls.
Right.
At least they were a really good team. The Raiders have been bad, and we still haven't been able to beat them. We got to get a win. And it's in Vegas. I think it's a great time for us to win. And what was your point about why we should lose? Did it have anything to do with the draft?
Had everything to do with the draft because that's what it boils down to. Is it would be great to get to 9-8 for the first time since 2016. We really talked about the Broncos never having back-to-back losing seasons since like the 1970s. We talked about that so much in 2017, so much in 2018, especially when it finally happened, the back-to-back losing seasons. We talked about it some in 2019, like, wow, this is really bad. 3 back-to-back-to-back losing seasons, something that's never happened since the team was founded. And now that has kind of just like gone by the wayside because it's been so bad. People have just accepted it. Accept it for one more year. Because that's all that is just accepting that it's, okay, not the best. You never want to lose to the Raiders, but the streak's already at 7. I guess have it be 8. I don't feel good about saying that. Yeah, but that's, again, just an acceptance thing there. Break it next year. Break the winning streak, or break the not having a winning record next year as well. Be 3-3 in the division. That's an improvement from what the Broncos have been. So all of these things are just like feel-good things to ride into the offseason with. And the momentum, 8-9 over 5-12 is just big time anyways. That 3 games, that's a lot of momentum going into next year. But all of these are just feel-goods. What matters is the draft, especially when you need a quarterback. And the Broncos need a quarterback. And if you win this game, I think you could fall as far as like 17 or 18 in the draft, just depending on how strength of schedule ends up going out at the end of the draft. Right now, the Broncos are 14th with the draft position, and they could go all the way up. I think they could get to 10, but I think 11 is a little more realistic of how high they could get up. If they win this meaningless game and they fall, let's say, all the way to 18, when they could get all the way to 10, that's at least one future first-round pick. That's going to cost you to get from 18 to 10, and then you're still going to have to move up from there. So let's put all this feel-good stuff aside for one more year and lose this game. There's one other thing, too, because it's not all about the draft. I don't like the way Sean's approaching this. And I would never expect Sean to come out and say, yeah, we're trying to lose this game for draft position. Of course not. He's going to say we're trying to win. But any guys that are 100% part of your future next year, maybe ones that have injury guarantees as well that you don't want to be on the hook for, why are they playing?
Well, we already made that move. We already moved one guy with the injury guarantee.
But I wouldn't have Pat Surtain playing this game. And Sean said you can't sit everyone. Yeah, you don't sit everyone. But the guys that are your stars, because I just saw the Cardinals starting left tackle tear his ACL this past week. It's not like they're just not going to have him in Week 18. They're not going to have him maybe all of next season or all of training camp, the first couple months of the season. I am playing scared this week because it doesn't mean anything. I would be sitting a couple of guys, and anyone with like a questionable injury, no, don't play them. Not worth it at all. Think about draft position. Think about next year.
I don't know. That's a tough position to be in as a competitor. I think anybody who's already on like the injury watch list, like a Cortland Sutton, like, okay, no, you're not playing. There's no reason to rush back. But if you're healthy and you could play, I think you should play, man. I think this is your job. We signed up for it. And ultimately, we want to come and we want to win. So you got to find a way to do that. Draft. Let's talk about the draft position. Yeah. Now, that is where I'm like, okay. I kind of understand the argument. Because, like you said, you're going to have to spend more picks just to get back from 18 to 10th. That's the only thing I would sit guys for. That's the only reason. Not to preserve health.
Right.
I wouldn't.
Fair.
I think guys have to play.
Okay.
But for draft position, I would do that.
So the way the draft position works out, so if every game the favorite wins, which is, I mean, it's NFL, it's unlikely. Every game the favorite wins, the Broncos win this week, they'll have the 14th pick. Broncos lose, 12th pick. It is what it is. Like, go win the damn football game. Like, this is what it's all about. Going and beating the Raiders. Like, I get that this is the NFL and not college football. Like, college football, it really is just like you get the game against a rival. Postseason hardly even matters. Like, maybe you'll change a little bit next year, but right now there's like 10 teams, 12 teams in the entire country who are worried about, like, we got to make it to the playoffs. Like, we got to go do this. For everybody else, it's like Colorado's playing Nebraska. Why do we care about this game? It's not because it affects our playoff chances. It's because we hate Nebraska. And it's a little bit different in the NFL, obviously, because more teams have a chance, and it is more about the postseason. At the same time, though, this is the Oakland Raiders, and you really want to have them take this 8-0 run now if they lose and be able to say, hey, we've got this on you guys. No, of course not. That's terrible. That's terrible. You have a chance to go 9-8, say we have something to build on. We were one bounce away from making the playoffs. Like, all of a sudden, you have a trajectory. You have, like, good feelings. Like, you have the opportunity to say, like, we're on the up and up. The NFL needs to pay attention to us. We have something to build off of. You go lose this game to the Raiders, what? You lose 3 of your last 5 down the stretch. Like, you're all of a sudden just another nobody, nothing team that isn't relevant to the NFL. Go win this damn game. Who cares about draft position?
Give me a break. No one's talking about these Broncos for the next 6 weeks because they finished the season 3-2
Not the
down
6
the
weeks.
stretch instead
Not for
of
6 weeks.
2-3.
That's playoff time.
No, but then the 9-8 is not that much different than the 8-9. Sean Payton can still
Yes, it
sell
is.
Broncos. I don't think so. Sean Payton can still sell Broncos fans, free agents, whatever. 3 games last year. Let's get 3 games this year, or at least even 2 games if you want to say that goes down. 10-7, making the playoffs this next year, and you can't compare it to college football and rivals in college football, especially in this situation, because in college football, what's a downside of, or is there any upside of losing a game at the end of the season? No, because there's no draft position. So it's totally different. There is upside that is going to literally cost you draft capital or players in order to move up. Now, I might be taking your guys' side if the Broncos didn't need a quarterback. If it was Russ going into next year, because then, okay, well, whatever. Broncos can get the second best wide receiver, or they can get the third best wide receiver in the draft if they're at 12 or if they're at 16 or whatever. But the fact that it is so clear they need a quarterback, they are going to be trading up most likely for a quarterback. What are we doing? Costing the team. I mean, you said 12 to 14. That's like a 3rd round pick right there. But
Exactly.
it could even be how many favorites? How many times does a favorite always win? In the NFL, never. There's always especially this week where there's so many backups playing and weird stuff happening because it's week 18 and so many teams are sitting there, guys. There are going to be upsets. So that gap could grow to where now winning this game costs you a future 2nd round pick. Or even if it's as big as it could be, like 11 to 18, that's another 1st round pick. I see your guys' point, but that's all feel-good stuff. The losing
That's what
this,
sports are for. What's a Super Bowl? Feel good. Feel good stuff.
You're a Super Bowl champion.
And it feels good. That's why you like it, because it feels good.
Tom, what'd you get out after the Super Bowl? Didn't they give you a little
gave
piece
me a
of
ring,
jewelry?
a little bit of money.
Okay.
It wasn't
And
just
how
a
does that feel?
It wasn't just a feel-good pat on the back.
How's that feel in the hand? Does that feel good?
A little heavy, yeah.
Yeah, a little heavy. Okay.
I don't know, Zach. I feel like you were trying to gas me up with the 10 to 18 when it was really 12 to 14. I don't know. I feel like 12 to 14 seems like you need to go win the game.
Yeah.
If there's a way for us to really get to 10, then maybe you don't. But I don't think Sean is going to or wants to tank. I feel like he had an opportunity. We could be sitting at 3rd right now.
Yeah.
If the goal was to get a quarterback
Yeah.
the whole time. So I think it's more about winning. I think Mike Tomlin's big thing is he's never had a losing season his whole tenure at the Steelers. Sean doesn't want to start with one.
Yeah. No, and you're absolutely right. I would have never expected Sean to take a different approach to this, but he has been as hard stanced about this as you can get, and so I do believe him that he wants to win this game, and I expect that every coach wants to be like that, even one that is as far from being on the hot seat as you can get with Sean Payton, because he's got 80 million reasons that he's not on the hot seat from ownership standpoint. I'm not telling Broncos fans to be cheering for the Broncos to lose to the Raiders. I'm just saying, if the game ends and the Broncos lose, it's going to be a good thing.
God. That's such a like losing mentality, though. That's so, and that is the thing, though. Is like, obviously, all this conversation doesn't matter, except for the fans, you know, because
Except
like
for draft positioning.
well, yeah, but like every player on the team is trying to win this game.
Right.
Every
Yep,
player
yep,
wants to
yep.
win. Every coach wants to win.
Yeah.
Everybody in the Broncos building wants to win. So it's like it's not a discussion of like.
So Zach may be the only person who doesn't want to win.
I mean, based on the chat, like, there we go.
Yes, let's
There
go.
we go. Yeah, so like it is only like outsiders. Like, how should people cheer for the game? You know, it's not like should they actually tank because they would never actually do it. Like, it's not a real conversation. But like, in when you know that they're trying to win. If I don't want to see that they are trying to win and can't do it. I want to see that they want to go win this game and they are capable of winning this game. Because, like we've talked about, like if you get a rookie quarterback, you're not upgrading the quarterback position. Like probably, like there's like the 10% chance or whatever that your
I think
quarterback's
Sean
better.
thinks he will.
Oh, Sean can think what he wants, but he's dead wrong if that's what he thinks.
Okay.
Like the numbers say like that's just not going to happen. So
Sean's never had a rookie quarterback to prove you wrong, though.
that's true, but there have been like 15, 30 rookies the last 3 years, and how have they gone? And so
We need to look through the coaches that those rookies have had at some point, because I truly don't know.
Yeah.
But I think I'll take Sean above.
when you
any
look
of them.
at Jarrett Stone's pass rating, that 93.8 this week, though, there's one quarterback in the last 3 years who's had a 93.8 or better in the last 3 years, and that's CJ Stroud. But so that's where the thing is, like, the rookie quarterback, odds are, is not just going to all of a sudden elevate you. What you need is for him to have a good team. And to me, like, this is a big week for figuring that out. Are you better than these Raiders or are you not? Because if you're not better than these Raiders, you're not adding a rookie quarterback next year and all of a sudden making a playoff run. Like, that's just not comprehensible to me.
And I'll say this last thing. I think it's good for everybody on the team to finish with a winning season because it starts the winning culture.
Yes.
Because when you put that rookie into this locker room, it's going to be a lot of the same guys and the same mentality of going 5-12 and 8-9 is still in that locker room. He's going to come in there and they're going to lose again.
So this game, I don't want to put words in your mouth, so tell me if I'm wrong. This game determines if the Broncos have a winning culture or not.
Absolutely. It's been so much up and down throughout the entire season. If they finish as winners, that's all they'll remember, and they'll be able to grow on that. But if they lose again, they'll think about the 1-5 start.
Yep.
They'll talk about Miami. They'll talk about losing to the Patriots when they had the opportunity to get to the playoffs. It'll be all negatives instead of saying like, "Hey, we started slow,
Yep.
we ended strong, we got to 9-8. Let's see what we could do next year."
Yep. It's one of those where it decides what you are. Are you an 8-9 team or a 9-8 team? And to me, that is a massive, massive, massive difference. Probably the biggest difference there is. Maybe between 0 and 1. Like would you say maybe bigger difference between 0-1 and 1-0, or like 16-0 or 16-1, 17-0? I think those might be bigger. But then 8-9,
if the
9,
Raiders
and 8.
win, they'll be an 8-9 team, right?
Yeah.
Are they a good team?
If
you
they
feel
win,
positive?
they're 8-9.
Yeah. Do you feel positive about the Raiders going forward next year? Do you feel like they're a dominant team?
Dominant, no. Do
Are
I
they
think if the
good?
Broncos win, are they a dominant team? No, I don't.
No, I don't think
either
they're
of these
dominant,
teams
but
are
do you feel
dominant.
like, they're a pretty good team?
So the Raiders have something different than the Broncos, though. I think regardless, they're trending in the right direction with Antonio Pierce.
I think so, too.
Unfortunately.
And remember when they did that with Rich Bisaccia? And then they decided to go a different direction?
Of course. And I think that would be a really stupid mistake by
Yeah.
Mark Davis.
And,
I wouldn't be surprised if they did that. And Mark Davis moved on and went and got someone else.
Yeah, and then what if the Broncos beat him this week? How does that change those odds? Do they all of a sudden start looking at? You don't think this game matters for Antonio Pierce's future?
I have no idea
Okay.
what Mark Davis does or doesn't do.
Okay, I think this could be a big one for him.
I think we've already seen, who was it? Devontae Adams yesterday came out and said, "I love Coach. I
Yep.
want him back. This is how the entire locker room feels." I don't think that locker room is going to change and be like, "Yeah, this guy's trash." If they lose and be like, "No, he lost us." So I do think it's probably decided
Already?
But again, Mark Davis he makes wild decisions, like hiring Josh McDaniels all the time. So I don't know. I don't want to stand by Mark Davis and say what he's going to do or not.
Yeah.
We got a comment from someone, and they said, essentially, it's a win-win for the Broncos this week. Do you agree with that?
If they win, they're 9-8. If they lose, they get higher draft picks. Yeah, I guess so. I
Okay,
guess we could put it
okay.
like that.
I mean,
Henry, can you agree with that or no?
it's you could say it's win-win. You could say it's a lose-lose. Like it's like a glass half full, glass half empty thing. You pick your side there.
Wow.
Like it's not.
I'm gonna be Russell Wilson and take the glass
the
half full
positive.
side. Yeah, I'm rolling with
Yeah.
you, Todd.
I mean, just because we haven't quite gotten into the actual numbers, so there's probably a chance you could be 10th. There's probably a chance you could be 17th. It might not be possible. Like that, you might need like there's a way that if everything works perfectly, you probably could get to 10 or 17.
Yeah.
More likely, you're looking at the 11 to 16 range.
I agree.
And again, like 11 and 16 are the extremes.
Right.
So again, it kind of pushes inward.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's just to like that's what you're actually looking like.
But we've had this conversation so many times over the years and over these past few weeks of you control what you can control, and like
True.
odds were that if the Broncos won last week, that they
Yep.
would still be in playoff contention this week, but they couldn't control everything. And we saw that the controllables didn't, or the uncontrollables didn't go their way. And
Yep.
that's why this game is meaningless
That's
in
what,
terms
like,
of the
yeah.
playoffs. So that's why I just don't like
Yeah.
leaving it and like, oh, well, if the Broncos win and everything else goes their way, they'll still be 14th or something.
Yeah, but I mean, if it winds up being like 11th or 16th is the difference, you have to give up another second round pick. It's like, fuck it. I mean, if you're trading multiple firsts and Pat Surtain to get way up in the draft, like throw in another second. It doesn't matter. Like you've kind of screwed yourself over draft wise anyway. Like,
Oh my gosh, you don't have a second round pick this year. So now you're trading another second round pick plus, like you said, maybe a great player
Yeah.
and first round picks.
That's
Oh
one of
my
those where
gosh,
it's
talk
like-
about a depleted team.
it's just one of those things though. Like if you're actually trading up, if you're actually like trading up, like you're getting way up there, you're giving up a haul. Like it
true.
is what it is. Like
Make it a little
you're not,
less.
Yeah, but also have a little bit better team.
This game does not change how good the team is or not.
Really?
think it
See,
just
I think
sha-
it does. I think it does.
I think it doesn't change their actual talent level. I
Right.
just think it changes the mentality. And I
fair.
think that football mentality is 90%, 80% of the game. And so I just need the guys in the locker room to feel like we're building something here. And you're already going to get a new quarterback. You're already in a position where you're going to make some big changes. You have to have everybody else balled in that Sean's the guy. He knows what he's doing. He took us from 5-12 to 9-8, and we're building something. We just need one more piece. And I don't know if that mentality is there losing this last game.
Fair. Totally fair. It's
But I
going to
do-
be
yeah.
interesting.
And like in terms of like it doesn't change like how good a player is,
Right.
but just one of those things where like you learn over the course of a season where it's like your range of outcomes are like here to here, and it's like, oh, you lost. They started so slow, and then all of a sudden the bottom comes up a little bit. Should have started my hands differently, but then like this is kind of that final piece where you say like, is this a B- team or is it a C+ team? And that to me is a big difference.
So the Lions went 9-8 last year, right?
Yep.
And they finished 6-2, right, to end the year.
Even more, they started 1-6.
Yep.
So they finished 8-2.
Yeah, 8-2.
Yeah.
Yeah. But they weren't in this predicament needing a new quarterback.
Right. Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. They weren't. But that is
So-
something that Sean has pointed to since the team was 1-5. He
Yeah.
said those Lions of last year started 1-6. They finished 9-8. They got so much momentum, and at that point, we said like, well, if the Broncos aren't going to tank and like get the number 1 overall pick, which at that point seemed like maybe best case scenario because they were 1-5. We said, yeah, maybe doing the Lions. Look at that upward trajectory.
Yeah.
I think the Broncos have already made that upward trajectory clear enough. But yeah, that's Sean's aiming to be the Lions.
Here's
We're
another
gonna
fun
see.
one. So last year, 9-8 teams: Jags, Dolphins, Seahawks, Lions, Steelers. 8-9, Bucks, Patriots, Packers. One group looks a lot better this year than the other.
The 8 and 9 teams all need a new quarterbacks.
Exactly.
The Broncos are going to need a new quarterback regardless of if they
Oh.
win this game or not.